Can you hear me? What's suppose it's low. Okay. Say something in the chat if you can hear. Hey, Finn. Nice. Hello, Rob. Lena. What's up, Marshall? Ariada. Okay, let's go. So we just had a meeting on Tuesday. We talked about trees, the data structure, binary trees in particular. However, today's going to be a lot easier. So bear with me if you already know this. If you just want to have fun and try to write this in a different language that you don't know, that could be a challenge if you already know how to do this. Write it in a different language. So that'll be interesting. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over the problem with my solution in Java, but you're welcome to use any language. Copy and paste your solution to the Zoom chat so we can discuss afterwards. For now, I'll just have chat, and then afterward, I'll have you can talk. Okay, so first question, let me paste. LeetCode 2469, convert the temperature. This is actually a very simple question. It's just math and kind of physics formula that's already given. So you don't even have to derive the physics formula. It's already given here. Rob asks, is this website safe? Have you ever done LeetCode? So LeetCode should be okay, safe. Yeah. You can go to leetcode.com and find the problem 2469, convert the temperature. Anyway, so I'm going to do Java, so it's very simple. Just return an array of two things. The first element is if you take the temperature given in Celsius, degrees Celsius, what's the Kelvin equivalent as the first element? What is the Fahrenheit equivalent as the second? So I can just return my answer here. A new double, because I'm using Java, so I have to instantiate a new array of double. And then in Java, you use curly braces for arrays, not square brackets. So I can say, okay, what is Celsius converted to Kelvin? You can just use this formula here. Add 273.15. So Celsius, the variable that stores the Celsius value, plus 273.15. Comma, the second element to this array is what is the value converted to Fahrenheit? And the formula is right here. You can just follow that. So you can take Celsius times 1.8 and you can add 32. All right. You can speak in the chat if you have any questions. Just write in the chat. And that's the answer. If you do 36.5 Celsius, that's like a little hot, right? That's 309 in Kelvin and 97.7 in Fahrenheit. Any questions? Let me know in the chat. Okay? What do you think about this question? Is it too easy? Did anybody do it in another language? That'll be interesting to see different languages syntax. When you first approached this question, do you think it was going to be hard before you read the prompt. All right. So how is everybody doing? Let me know in the chat. We can go to another one now, more challenging one too. Some second question. Let's do two sum. Okay, so this question is an array of integers, and you're given a target 9. So what does it mean? It means, can you find two elements whose sum is the target? For example, 9 could be the sum of 2 and 7, right? 2 plus 7 is 9. So you have some value A plus some value B. I'm writing on the screen right now. Okay. So we got a target T. So we're going to switch it around a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take, what if I thought about this as the target minus something, right? If as I go through the array, I can store what I've seen before. Maybe I can put a hash, right? Because at the end, I have to return the indexes. So if I do that, let's say 2 is at index 0 if I make a hash. Okay. And then 7 here. Now, when you look at a 7, it doesn't, you have to first look, okay, you have the 7 here. If you had 7 plus some other number, that's 9, right? You can think of that as, okay, that other number has to be 9 minus 7, which is 2. So if you take this number 2 and look at the hash, hey, I have seen 2 before. Therefore, I can actually use that. So I've seen it before. I'm going to use the 2, that's index 0, and the present one, which is as index 1. So that's why we got that. So that's the trick of this question. You have to turn it around and do the minus to make it work, okay? So let's go to the code. So let's make a hash map first. Those just got here, that's the second question there. So we're doing two sum. I'm using Java, but you can use any language that you want. So two sum, let's do a hash. So in Java, I can do map from integer to integer, integer comma integer. I'll call it hash map. That's the name of my variable. I'll make that a new hash map of integer, integer, parentheses. So my answer is going to be an array of two things. In Java here, they're using array of int primitive. So I can at the end return that, or actually it's at the, I don't think if we're guaranteed there'll all be an answer. Let me see the constraints here. Only one valid answer exists. So I think it will always be guaranteed that one answer will be there. That there is no case where I cannot find a number that doesn't match to sum to the target. So this return here at the end, it's just for making Java happy. So I don't think we're ever going to get there because we're actually going to return from inside the loop that we're going to do right now. But anyway, you can create that instance variable if you want. So it's an array of ints. It's going to be two elements. So you can just say new int. And if you want to initialize, you can initialize -1, -1, just to have something. But anyway, that's just because of Java, right? If you're not using Java, you don't need that. Okay, let's iterate through every element in the array nums. So I'll just use a standard for loop. int I equals 0, as long as I is less than nums.length, I plus plus. Okay, so how do we access the current element? We do nums at I, right? And then we have to take that, okay. We have to check the hash map. Have we seen that number before? But not the number that I'm seeing presently, but the difference, right? Remember, I had to do that trick, take the target, subtract the current, and find out if I already seen the difference before. So we're gonna subtract target minus the current number. That's gonna be what I call the difference in the array, an int variable. So I'm gonna check the hash map. Have I seen this difference number before? So if hash map.contain key, that's the method in Java. Difference, for example, the very first one, I equals 0 is going to point to 2. So we're going to take 2 minus the target, right? 9 minus 2 is 7. Have I seen 7 before? No. So this is not going to do it right away. So we're going to do the else case. But let's assume we were in the second one where we see 9 minus 7 is 2. We've seen the 2 before. So in that case, we can be sure, okay, we have seen it before. So we're going to take the hash map.get, that value, the index for the difference, right? 9 minus 7 is 2. So what's in the hash map for the value for the key 2? What's the index, right? In this case, it's going to be 0. So we're going to take that and set the indices variable, the first element to that, and then indices 1 is going to be the actual I that we're iterating through, and then you can return indices. Now, you don't have to do what I did. You can just return new int like this with hash map dot get difference I. If you're using Java, it's just another way. Okay, it doesn't matter. But what if we don't see it? Like if I equals 0, we see 9 minus 2 is 7, but 7 is not yet in the hash map. So this if will not execute. So we can just go to the else case, but we don't have to write else because there's already return as an if here, and we won't write anything afterward. So you can, it's implicit else. So you can just say hash map dot put. Now, what are we placing in the hash map? We need the current number that we're seeing, right? Nums at I, and then that's going to be the key. And then the value is its index, which is I, because the answer wants the index, not the numbers themselves. Okay, and that will do the trick. So if you were to trace it, I equals 0 in the beginning, I'm going to take nums I, which is 2, 9 is the target, minus 2 is 7. I have not seen 7 in the hash map. This is not executed. We're going to put 7 in the hash map here. I put curly brace to represent a hash map. And we're going to put its, so not 7. Sorry. I'm going to put 2, the present number, in its index 0. And then the next one, when I plus plus, you're going to go to the next guy, which is 7, 9 minus 7, 2. Is there a 2 in the hash map? Yes. What is its index? It's 0. So I put that in the first value for the array. And then the I, which is 1. And that's my answer returned there. Okay. And that's the 2-sum. For the time complexity of 2-sum, let's take a look. We're iterating through every element in the array, so all of n. The operations for hash map get and put should be all of 1 inside the loop, so it should not add to that. The space we're using a hash map, so that has to add all of n. So all of n for both time and space. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. How's this one? Is it easy? Is it hard? Have you seen it before? Have you seen it in an interview? If you have a solution, even if it's the same as mine, copy and paste the Zoom chat and you have the chance to explain. Okay. And I have not enabled audio because there were people who are here apparently for trolling. So I don't know if they're still here. So if you're here for trolling, I'm not gonna let you troll. So that's why I didn't enable audio. But let me know in the chat what people think. Okay, a quiet crowd today. Let's go to the next then. Then we can talk more career stuff. Third question. Let's do LeetCode 1431. Kids with the greatest number of candies. Now, it might look intimidating, but it's actually a very easy question. But it's a bit confusing. But so basically, it's gonna give you an array of integers that represents the number of candies each kid supposedly has. And then you're given this variable extra candies 3. So if you were to, for each kid, if you were to give the extra candies, like if you have the kid with 2, if you get 3, you get 5, right? And then if you do the same, okay, what if you had the kid with 3 and add 3? You get 6, right? So you're first gonna find out which one, if you were to give each 3, which one would get the most. And then you're gonna use this condition here that they give to return a Boolean after giving the Yive kid all the extra candies, if they have the greatest number, or false otherwise. So this is a bit confusing, but let's jump into it. So we're gonna find out which one would have the greatest number of candies if given the extra, okay? So let's see how I can explain. So let's make a variable here greatest. Initialize to 0. So this is basically a max. You're finding the max value in a way of the array. Okay. So you're gonna go for int I equals 0, I less candies of length, I plus plus. So it's just traversing the array of candies. Now you gotta find out which one is the greatest. It's just a max value of an array problem. So if you know how to do that, it's clear to you. So if I take candies at I, that accesses the number 2 in this case, but I equals 0. You gotta check, is that greater than the greatest? If that is the case, the greatest is now gonna be candies at I. And that's just finding the max. Some people like doing math on max, right? There's something, other languages, math on max, candies, I, greatest, greatest. Something like that is also okay. Okay, but then we got to do a second pass because we find the greatest, but then we got to do the formula that they want us to return. Remember, they want an array of Boolean. In this case, Java is a list. So let me make a list in Java, a list of Boolean, call it results, new array list. And I'll put a capacity of candies length. And at the end, I'm going to return that as my answer. But then I got to do a loop to find out, okay, is it going to be true? Is it going to be false? What's the deal here? Okay, so we're going to do for int I equals 0, I less candies dot length again. We're doing it again, yes. And then finally, we're going to add or push to the array result. So the formula that they give, return a Boolean where results is true if after giving the Ive kid all the extra candies. So you're gonna, what's the Ive kid? It's candies at I. After giving the extra candies plus extra candies, they will have the greatest number or false otherwise. So what's the greatest is this value we found out. So you have to put greater than or equal to. So there could be 2 kids with the same greatest. That's fine. So that's the key to resolving the problem. Many times I might have confused this part. I maybe I put the extra candies before, but it's actually afterwards that you have to account for. Okay, so let's see. So that's it. So if you iterate through, the greatest is 5, right? And then you're gonna go for each again, and you're gonna use the formula. So 2 plus 3, which is the extra, is 5. Is that greater than or equal to 5? It should be true. And then you go do the same for the next. 3 plus 3 is 6, greater than or equal to 5, the greatest. And keep going. One of them that's not gonna work is the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. That's not greater than or equal to 5, right? So it's not gonna work. It's false. Okay. Okay, what's the time complexity? We have all of n here. We have all of n here. All of 2n, which simplifies to all of n. So be careful, even though I have two loops, it's not all n squared. It's not all n squared. I don't have a loop inside a loop. So it's still going to be all of n even though I do two passes. For the space, I do have to return the same number of elements as the candy. So it's going to be all of n for the space, okay? Nice. What do you guys think of this question? Let me know in the chat. Olaf is asking, why dot add and not direct use of the index? I don't think we can use direct. I'm not sure if you can use direct index with array list. Does anybody know in Java? Because I think I might have tried that in the past, like doing this. Is that what you want to do? Yeah, I don't think that works in Java. Because this is for primitive array. How would you do? Marshall is saying use put. Let's try. Put at I, comma. Doesn't look like there's a put for list of Boolean. Yeah, Olaf, I think Java, you can't really do what you're thinking in other languages. Unless somebody knows specifically if I can do. Can ask AI. Let's ask AI. We did it last time. Let's take this. In Java, when you have a list Boolean implemented with array list of Boolean with capacity, where capacity is like 5. How do I add elements at a specific index? Using add index element method. So it's saying I can use add index. So this one is making a list of capacity of 5 in adding true, false, true. And then you can add an index, add the index to insert an element to insert. Size true. So this is at 1, 0, 1, false, true. Shifted to the right. Interesting. This, I don't know, if might incur a cost shifting elements, inserting at a certain position. But there should be no cost. If you worry about cost, it shouldn't be a cost for this one because I already initialized with capacity and it should be there. It's just a matter of adding to the next available position. Marshall is saying to use set. set at I. It doesn't work. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. This doesn't really work because they don't have elements that are taking position yet. So there's no index. It's thinking it's a list is only has 0 elements. So it's out of bounds. So you cannot do that. So you have to use add. Okay, let's see if the add with I works. So the add with I works, but this is not good if you insert in like after you add elements and you insert in between elements. So that's not good. But here I know it's in sequence. So it's fine. All right. Alina Marshall. Nice. Olaf is asking why using a list, not an array? Because that's what the problem uses. It's not me that is asking. You see the return value is list of Boolean. It's not Boolean brackets. If it was Boolean brackets, we could do it easily without having to use array list. And we can do what you're asking for because it's a fixed length array, right? Fixed size array. In that case, we can use brackets I, but not with the list interface and array list class, right? That's a different ballgame. Does that make sense? Yeah. A list is supposed to be a dynamic array, dynamic size array. So it resizes. Nobody shared their solution today. Quiet crowd today. Marshall said Java is a strongly typed language, and in practice, wrapper classes are used in most cases. Wrapper classes are these things here. So instead of using Boolean lowercase, I use uppercase. That's a wrapper. How's everybody's career doing? Looking for jobs? If you like the session, consider donating. Here are my links. Is anybody having interviews or are you just doing lead code for fun? What is the deal? Let me enable audio. Um, unless if any of you go crazy and disrupt, I'm gonna mute you. Okay? But I enable audio. Looking for jobs, Marshall. Did you get laid off or something like that? Or you're just looking for a better job? We have heard news of Amazon laying off, so how are people coping? Is everybody going crazy on lead code every day or just casually? What kind of questions have you been seeing? Are the interviews hard? Do you even get interviews at all? Are you optimizing your resume for the ATS? Are you able to talk to a recruiter? Marshall just arrived in North America and started looking for a job. Where were you before? And were you a student? Alina is prepping in advance for a better opportunity. Want to start lead code more. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. And sorry today is not too hard for you. Today is like a quick start to people who haven't done lead code in a while. So But yeah, we did trees last on Tuesday, so that was more challenging. But from time to time, we get more challenging questions. Marcia says, practice lead code and SD every day. What's SD? Olaf says freelancer, spare time between contracts. Okay. Marshall says SD is system design. Oh, okay, okay. How do you study practice? How do you practice system design? Character share, how you do it? Do you use like that website, mock interviews, or see if we got any questions from thing? What language do people use here? PHP, Python. Sometimes I see a lot of people use Python with their solutions. Man, you guys really are a quiet crowd today. Alina uses JavaScript. Okay. TypeScript or just JavaScript? Very similar to our solutions here, right? Except this one would be a lot simpler in JavaScript would be just like this with a brackets, right? Olaf uses Python. Very rare C++. Okay. Alina uses TS TypeScript. Yeah, bit user in JSTS. Yeah. This one in JavaScript. Uh, Nouns can be from negative, can be 0. Yeah, I have to be careful if you use just an object because if you do 0, if you get 0, it's falsy in JavaScript. It it could be one of the keys could be 0. JavaScript. Let me see. So hash map would just be const. There's a map in JavaScript. I think it is map, right? But you could just use an object too. That's also possible. Indices, you could just be const like this. And yeah, JavaScript don't even need a return unless you use a TypeScript, but you don't have to have that. Loop is the same, except you gotta use let. Let difference. Actually const, not changing.
Hey, do you feel
This
like using
maybe you,
Python? Sorry, I had a question. Do you feel
yeah.
like using Python is a little bit worse than using Java in LeetCode because Python has a lot of like built-in
Mm,
libraries that could potentially aid you in solving LeetCode questions. And I think the whole point of LeetCode is to
mm,
get better at solving certain things and learning about data structures and algorithms. So I'm curious on your take on that. I
mm.
mean, do you would you prefer to use
Yeah.
Java or C++? plus plus?
Yeah, I personally prefer Java because everybody kind of understands and it has the standard. It's very similar to other languages like C based, but it's okay to use Python as well. Uh, Now to take on the built-ins, yeah, I would say if the question asks you to implement logic from a built-in, don't use the built-in. For example, if you're asked to implement a reverse an array, obviously you don't want to write array.reverse in your solution, right? The whole purpose is for you to implement the actual reverse. So in that
Yeah.
case, you should actually implement reverse like by going through each element
Hmm.
or doing whatever needs to be reversed, swapping them,
Yeah.
right? That's one. But if you're doing a question that is not related to it, maybe it's a long question that's hard, lead code hard, but you depend on having a helper function that maybe is going to find, for example, find the max value in an array like this. It's if it's gonna, it's not the main purpose of the question. You could use a built-in for that, right? You can take array max or whatever you call it in Python, right? Candies or
Right.
whatever. That's fine if the question doesn't ask directly for this. This is just a helper to get to the solution. But if the question is find the maximum of an array, then you have to write it this way because it's supposed to implement the actual helper, right?
Right.
The function built in. So that's why how I think it should be. But I don't think it's a harm using Python. Many people use it these days. So, but yeah, just do a strike a balance. Like depends on what do you ask for. What's the main purpose of the question? So given that, if it's not part of the main purpose, you can use the built-in. Otherwise, just implement it from scratch. But yeah, um,
One additional hint,
and I don't know.
if you
Try to make something
uh,
readable. I know some people love doing one-liners with crazy comprehensions, right, in Python, and then add an if whatever in the same line. I don't know. Maybe try to make it readable because it's so confusing to read. Anyway, that's my opinion. Go ahead.
uh, Mohammed, just one additional thing. One of the built-ins may shift you with the complexity. Just have a look at the max. The max itself has complexity of uh, n under the hood. You don't see the for loop, which is implicitly used in max and therefore sometimes heads up in Python.
Hmm.
Yeah, that,
You
that makes
know,
sense.
Olaf, thank you for pointing it out. That's actually a good point. If you're using built-ins, make sure you know the time complexity and space for them. Like Olaf said, the max function would be all event for time. So if you're using like a built-in inside a loop here, like if for some reason you decide to use max inside a loop, this is not going to be all event, right? Because you're doing all event and then all event again, all event squared. So you have to be careful in that case. Makes sense.
What resources do you
That's
use
why I
to,
was. Mhm.
I was gonna ask, what resources do you
Go
use
ahead.
to, learn about data structures and algorithms? I mean, I've used a few things like
Mm.
Geeks for Geeks or
Yeah.
just, looking at leak code
Yeah.
solutions or YouTube explanations, but what in your opinion is a good way to
Yeah.
go about it and what resources are you using?
Yeah. Uh, just you gotta struggle with late code, find a question, and for example, it's a question on uh I don't know, linked list. Do you know what a linked list is? First question. If you don't know, look it up,
Hmm.
try to do some research and learn about the basics. We have so much information today. When I was in school, I had a book like C++, wind mirrors or whatever that explain the data structures. But today you can just look it up online or ask AI. I don't know. Explain what a linked list is. And you can go there and maybe get a glimpse of an overview, right? If you've never seen before. And it's gonna let you know what it is. Then maybe you can look at those Geek for Geeks and other places that give you like an example. How to traverse the linked list. There's an X pointer. So you have to know these properties, right, of the data structure. Once you grasp that, apply what you know to the lead code question that you're solving. And try to start with an easy one. Don't start with the hardest if you're not experienced, right? Try to, okay, how do I traverse a linked list? Find that question, solve it. If you've struggled with it, maybe look at other people's solution right away if you're really struggling. But try to do it yourself, you know? But yeah, that's what I would do today. And then you're not going to get every single lit code question right away. It's not going to happen. You have to struggle. I struggle a lot. I had to look up the solutions because I tried it myself. Okay, this is bad, or maybe it sucks. I tried the worst possible solution, brute force or whatever. Then I look up other people's solution in the discussion or solutions tab, and then I analyze those. Nowadays it's even easier, right? Because you can just copy the question and ask in the AI, and it lets you know what it is. I think I even wrote in my website, I put a section for lead code. I'm sharing the link. So I just have the questions here and I look at it and I ask to explain the solution. I built this function using AI. So behind the scenes, it's basically copying to Gemini or somewhere and generating the explanation. So I think it's much easier to comprehend the solution today of AI too. Because before, yeah, I was reading a solution, I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't understand. I have to write it down so many times, debug it. But if you put in maybe the AI now, you can try to read it and make sense of what's doing. Okay, it's provide a solution, whatever. Initialize. Maybe it makes sense, but don't ever trust the AI 100%, right? Because AI can be wrong.
Yeah,
So
it can
that's my
hallucinate.
caution. Uh,
That's really cool though.
yeah, it hallucinates a lot. Yeah.
What did you
Uh,
use to build this suggestion bot?
yeah, so basically I made it a challenge to do lead code. So you can also do this for yourself.
Hmm.
Make like a GitHub repository and write your solutions there.
Okay.
So this is basically taking from my solutions vault or whatever, and it's putting in a database. And then if you click to explain what it's doing, it's just basically copying the solution and it's
Yeah.
prompting an AI like Gemini. It's LLM, right? You can use it from OpenAI or right? If you
Yeah, but
know
what I'm saying is
OpenAI, they have
how
APIs for that.
oh, okay, so what did you use to
Uh-huh.
hit the API? Like are you using a specific
Yeah, so
um
when I click explain here in the
mhm.
back end, there's a request. So it's gonna look, okay, let me ask the AI. So you're gonna make a request to OpenAI
Okay.
and you copy the solution here and then you ask, please explain this lead code solution. And then OpenAI is gonna give you a response, just like you do with Gemini, right?
Yeah.
And then what you do is you copy that, you store in the database, and then you send back a response to the user here. So the reason I store in the database is next time somebody asks for it,
You
it's
can just
already
cache
cached.
it's
So you
cached,
can see
yeah,
it right
yeah.
away.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because if it's not cached, every time I click explain, it's going to hit OpenAI, and that's going to
Yeah.
be costly, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you want to pay for their APIs. And there's some crazy dude here that's going to disrupt my website. He's going to be clicking just so I can get charged a lot of money. But it's not going to happen because it's
Yeah.
cached. But
Um
yeah, I
I'm
always know people with malicious intent. Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious, what was the framework and like the tech stack you used for making your website?
Yeah, so there are many today. I use React for the
Okay.
front end. Back end is just JavaScript,
Okay.
Node.js.
Nice.
So you can see here if you view the page source, I think there's somewhere it says Next.js.
I use
You can
Next.js. Okay,
see a
nice.
Next static. Yeah, so Next.js is a React framework.
Oh, nice. That's actually
You don't
that's
have
so
to use
cool.
it. You can just use React. You can use React, plain React, right? React.js.
Yeah, I've used React before in
You don't have
Angular.
to use that
I've
one.
never used Next though. I was thinking about trying it out.
Yeah. Yeah, Next is basically allows you to do server-side rendering.
Okay.
Basically, it renders on the server side and sends the
Hmm.
response to the client, and the client already gets the HTML ready to go with the data. And
Okay.
it's also good for SEO, search engine optimization. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But the downside is whereas React, you can just use it and upload to like S3, which is just like object storage.
Yeah.
The downside is you for Next.js, you have to run an actual server. You cannot just have static files.
Hmm.
So you're gonna have to spin up like, I don't know, EC2 or whatever, Amazon EC2. Are you familiar with those terms? It's like a
EC,
virtual
yeah,
machine.
I know EC2,
Amazon
but I've never used it. Like I
EC2.
don't have any experience with AWS, if I'm being honest. Like I
Yeah,
just
this
know
is
of it.
just cloud storage. If you want to put
Yeah.
static files,
Okay.
Amazon S3 or Azure Blob Storage or whatever you use. And
Okay,
EC2
cool.
is like to make a virtual machine. It's a compute thing. So you can put your server in the virtual machine. But
Nice.
that's
Okay.
from Amazon. They're equivalents in Azure and other Google Cloud and whatever. But yeah, I
Okay.
encourage you also to do your projects. If you have a project, put that in your resume. It's be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, so like it's very easier, much easier to learn. And yeah, let's read the other comments. Marshall says, good advice. Also, if you do not have a solid knowledge, you can pick one lead code list, top 75, top 100, top 150, do it, find your weakness, use AI to fix it. That's a good one, Marshall. So he's saying for you to do the top questions. I think if you go here, where is it? Is it in lists? Study plan.
You know, one website I
This
found that
one?
was really helpful for me was I guess it's they might have actually just put it on LeetCode now. It was the Grind 75. Um I'm sure most of you guys have heard about it, but it's like it it gives you a tailored list of topics week by week, and you can specify like how long you wanted to do grind this for, and then how many hours per week you want to dedicate, and it'll customize it. So if you increase the hours or if you increase the weeks,
Hmm.
it gives you more questions or less depending
Okay.
on yeah. So
Okay.
this is really helpful if I'm being honest because like going through these one by one, it helped solidify my practice with each different
Hmm.
category. So it goes through like, dynamic programming, um, arrays, strings, just everything in general is here. So this is really good.
Oh no. So we did this one today
Yeah.
in Marcus chat.
Yeah, honestly, if you want, you could just use the
Oriented.
website and then and just keep checking these off week by week. That would be nice.
This question gave me a job. Value
Nice.
20. You guys done that?
Nice.
Yeah. It's a good one. I use a stack, so if you don't know about stacks, a good one. So Clay, choose some stack, sorted list. What is this one? Oh, linked list. Okay. Linked list. Palindrome. This is like a more difficult palindrome because they put comma and colon there. Cool. Nice. That's cool, man. So you've been doing this or
Yeah,
how
I
far are
initially did
you
it for
now?
my the like job that I had. So before I went to the interview, I
Okay.
just went through this most of the list and it actually helped a lot,
Uh-huh.
if I'm being honest. Because by the end of this,
Yeah.
I could I mean it took me like
Mm-hmm.
an hour usually, but I could solve hards. Um
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
this is really good.
What do you guys think about the people who are using AI during lead code question interviews?
I'll be honest that
Like,
using AI during the code question interview defeats the whole point. I mean, why even, I don't know, why even ask, lead code interviews at that point or, questions. Like it's the same thing as if someone, like there's people that cheat in interviews, right? They'll have people like on the
Mm,
side telling them what to do or what to
yeah.
say. It's a temporary solution, right? You're just putting a band-aid on it because when you're actually
Yeah.
doing the job, how are you going to think critically? Like
uh
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're going to have no way of actually solving real problems if you're relying on AI for everything. And if you keep relying on AI during the job,
Yeah.
it's going to do the job, but eventually it's the code is going to break down because it's low quality, right? Like AI generated code is not
Right.
great right now. So,
Right. Yeah. I think people are desperate because of the times.
oh
But
yeah,
yeah, I've
I mean
interviewed.
Amazon had what 30K layoffs this week.
Yeah.
UPS had some. I mean, not
Yeah.
all engineers, but yeah, right now it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
I've interviewed people for my job right now, and they asked me to interview a bunch of people. And it seemed that everybody was, according to what was thought from other people, they were all using AI. So I don't know. Sometimes it feels like from my point of view as an interviewer, that some of them just get it right away. So I don't know if they're using AI or not. Is that suspicious?
Yeah,
But then I ask
yeah.
them questions. What's the type? Very simple questions. Like, what's
Hmm.
the type return? What's the type of this variable? What's the return type of this variable? Some of
Yeah.
them don't know. So that's my way of kind of.
Yeah, if they don't know, then it's
I'm
like a
like the person. Okay,
guarantee.
I'm gonna assume everybody's using AI, so I don't care. But then
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask basic questions. What's the return value of this function? And many people don't know. You'd be surprised.
yeah,
I ask a question like that and nobody knows. And that's how I assess, but I don't know. I don't know how else. Like if you don't know the return value or the type of a variable, uh, it's difficult. I don't know.
yeah.
Many people have a job and they don't know. So, but anyway,
Yeah, that's the
you gonna
reality of
say
it.
something, Olaf?
Yes, just a hint for you for the interviews. Perhaps sometimes to have a screen share and then live coding session, and you can see typing or copying
Hmm.
in.
Oh, okay. So you have them uh share the screen and live code session. Yeah.
Yes,
But Olaf,
more
I think
more or less.
they still do
I
it anyway.
can. No, it's just like extreme coding, and where you say, okay, you are the interviewer,
Yeah.
or you're the co-pilot, and the driver should then
Mhm.
do his job. And then also
Yeah.
you can see on the one hand he is able to use the computer to see, okay, typo or other things. Yes. And you can
Yeah.
also follow his thoughts and follow his method to work. I think it's a good
Right.
strategy.
Yes. I I don't know. Honestly, I interviewed someone before and they got it right away. It was like, damn, he got it in 5 minutes, the question. And then I don't know, but he seemed to understand what's going on. Maybe he was a good actor or he really knows it. So I think I don't know. You never know,
Yeah,
but yeah, good
but at the
points.
same time, even if the person really knows the question and they understand it, it doesn't always speak to the quality
Yeah,
of how he is as an engineer. Because I've seen a lot of people who are just,
right.
I mean, crazy great at leak code, right? They're amazing at leak code. They even know system design, and then as soon
Yeah,
as they're hired, they're either lazy
yeah,
or they don't have a good work ethic, or
yeah,
they're just unmotivated for whatever reason.
yeah,
So, I mean, in reality, like, yes, you can
yeah.
filter some people out with LeetCode, but it doesn't filter everybody who's a bad
Mhm.
engineer, right? because you never really know.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the unfortunate reality of lead code. I myself kind of, the more senior you are, the less lead code you remember. So I can understand if you come in as a senior, you're really good, and then you don't do a good solution for the question because you haven't done it in a while. That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's like it's a it's a reality. Lead code doesn't really test the job like in it's what are you gonna do? It's a totally different thing, right? But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say something. What I was gonna say, I forget. But yeah, the lead code thing, and yeah, that's why I ask basic questions in the interviews. I don't always ask. Honestly, if I were me, I don't really ask lead code personally. I just make up some easy question that I just want to test the basics. If you know basic, what does it do? Like, what does it return? What's the argument? Why does it not do what you expect it to do? Like, if you do like front end and you don't know how promises work, like, I'm trying to ask, okay, what is the return value when it's a promise? Obviously, that's for people who are experienced, right? Senior and maybe for a new grad is a different ball game. I'm not gonna ask, not expected to know React or a promise in JavaScript because you have been out of college. Oh yeah, the thing I was gonna tell you is it's not only lead code, like even if you do like a master's degree that doesn't or a I don't know, PhD. I know from experience when I worked at some place that we had another person who did a master's. I didn't have a master's at the time. I was just BS, right? And the person who did a master's supposedly is supposed to know more than you, but they didn't. They actually were very poor engineers. Just because they did a master doesn't mean you're gonna be a good engineer. So there's also that. But mm, it's yeah, it's not everything's an indicator for your how good you're gonna be. Like there are
Yeah.
just so many messed up things that happen in work that you need like practical experience because the actual job it's not going to be perfect. There's always something messed up because somebody in the past messed it up and you have to deal with the mess somebody else made and you have to make tough decisions. How can we improve this? Because I cannot do it the perfect school way, right? I can just do this thing, the pretty thing that's gonna work. It's not gonna work. You have to find a way to make it work, while at the same time you gotta balance uh good programming practices that you only get with experience. I think because you learn from the mistakes, right? You learn, man, really fucked up. We're going to try to do this, and it all fell apart because we did the programming this way. So if you learn from that mistake, the next time you do it, you're going to say, hey, man, don't try to do it that way because in my past, I've done it that way and everything exploded. So don't do that. So that's how you learn. Like I've learned from other people's mistakes a lot because I used to work at GitHub, for example. At GitHub, somebody like they made a change and the whole GitHub went down. It was like 500. And why did it happen? Because the person did not uh, use what's called the staging environment to test it out. So when you did the changes in staging, you could clearly see it's broken. But that person did not do that. They just directly shipped to production. And he brought down the whole GitHub for maybe a couple of minutes. It was like, damn. I learned so many fuck ups like that. Like GitHub have so many of that kind of stuff. People doing a lot of weird stuff, and what do you learn from them? Even startups as well. If you do startups, there's a lot of fuck ups too, especially because people don't really know what they're doing when they start out and they want to do something fast, right? Rapid prototyping. And the startups, you're going to have a mess. And you have to, eventually, it's going to bite you in the future because it keeps building up, building up, building up. It's going to work now, but you keep piling up all this shit that not properly done. Eventually it blows up on you. And then what takes 5 minutes in the usual code base is going to take 5 hours because you let it get out of control. You never had the good practices from the beginning. So those are all like things that we have to deal with. It's nothing to do with lead code. It's just learning from experience. You know, having to deal with people. It's a lot. It's a big part of the job. Like you have to learn to deal. Somebody's going to have disagreements with you about the solution, about the way you approach things. Somebody's going to make a change that's going to break the whole website, and you have to deal with that. So it's complicated, right? You got to interact with people, and sometimes you disagree with them, but you know it's going to break. What do? Are you going to, they feel strongly about their solution, and you know it's going to break, but you have no power over that. What would you do in this situation? Would you just let it go and see it break so the other person learns a lesson? And you are powerless because you have less influence over the other person. Maybe he's a senior. Let's say you're like a noob and you see a senior do a nasty thing that's going to break, but you let them know, hey, this is going to break, but they ignore you. And there's all these kind of things. Marshall says, to be honest, lead code isn't very useful in most positions, mainly used for screening now. Using AI to cheat is indeed problematic. Marshall agreed, but if so, that's not engineer's fault. It's like it likes online SPO, SOP, and the permission issues. Okay. What is SOP again, Marshall? Service is it? I thought you said SOAP, service oriented architecture or something. What is SOP? SOP. Anyway, guys, we're standard operating procedure. Okay. Yeah, Marcia, but you'd be surprised that many people don't follow basic common sense. There's so many bad things going on. The people don't know. You're surprised how many people do a lot of bad things all the time. So it's very hard, especially in startups. I have to deal with that a lot. Anyway, those are my links. Thanks for coming, everybody. Nice to see you too. Have a good one. Bye.